Saudi Arabia's economy is the biggest in the Arab world and the 16th largest in the world. The country is a member of the G20 in addition to having one of the most sophisticated economies and being a founding member of OPEC. It is believed that Saudi Arabia has around 17% of the world's proven oil reserves, approximately 50% of the country's gross domestic product, and 70% of its export profits are generated by its petroleum and natural gas industries. But what many people don't know is that Saudi Arabia has many other ways of making money as well. In this video, we will discuss 10 ways Saudi Arabia makes money. Stick around until the end since our final statistics are staggering. Number 10. Agriculture. From the beginning of their rule, Saudi Arabia's monarchy was charged with monitoring the financial problems of Arabia's native tribes. The great bulk of the population consisted of nomadic herders who provided for themselves by caring for their herds of camels, sheep, and goats. Agriculture was strictly governed and run independently without support from other sources. As part of its growth goals, the government has made it feasible for agricultural companies to qualify for subsidies and other vital advantages. This is one of the government's economic development objectives for the kingdom. Because agriculture comprises less than 2% of its land, however, there isn't much room for expansion. Agriculture therefore provides a small proportion of Saudi Arabia's GDP and employs a negligible portion of the country's overall labor force. Number 9. Transportation. Since the majority of highways in Saudi Arabia are paved, a great majority of residents are able to travel by vehicle. Taxis are often available in metropolitan areas, as well as the vast majority of other locations with a high population density. The route from Al Taif to Mecca is characterized by the spectacular drop of its western escarpment. One may also take a train from Riyadh to Al Dammam, passing through Al Hofuf. In 1986, a causeway was constructed to connect the kingdom to the island state of Bahrain. Number 8. Tourism. Beginning in the 1960s, a substantial number of people with foreign citizenship began entering the nation, the vast majority of whom were accompanied by at least one member of their immediate family. Concurrently, an increase in the number of organizations able to meet their needs was seen. After the middle of the 20th century, the Saudi Arabian government initiated structured tourism marketing initiatives in an attempt to attract visitors. However, tourism's contribution to the economy that is unrelated to religious observances continues to be a negligible portion of the total. In the kingdom, foreign nationals have traditionally been a large portion of the labor force. Now, they account for more than 75% of the overall labor force. The great majority of these employees are unskilled or semi-skilled laborers from South Asia and the Middle East, of various ethnic backgrounds. The bulk of the country's vocations requiring a high degree of competence may have been effectively filled by Westerners, especially Americans. These expats also engage frequently in the many tourist activities available. The significant population growth in Saudi Arabia throughout the second part of the 20th century may be attributed to an increase in the number of native Saudis joining the labor force. This occurrence happened in the countryside. In the 1990s, the government started executing a program that became known as Saudiization that required companies to reduce their dependence on foreign labor. Returns on investments, tariffs, and licensing fees are other sources of revenue for the government. Consumption taxes are another technique for the government to generate revenue. Muslims are required to pay a tax known as the zakat, which is intended to help society's least fortunate members. This is one of the responsibilities that Muslims are required to do. In 2018, the overwhelming majority of products and services were subject to a 5% value-added tax. In July 2020, this tax was raised to 15% in an effort to recuperate money lost due to the collapse in oil prices that year. This tax is the outcome of joint legislation adopted by a number of Gulf states. Number 7. Services. The second half of the 20th century saw a great rise in the service sector due to an increase in income from the sale of petroleum products and enormous increases in government spending. Almost 60% of the labor force is engaged in occupations that are directly or indirectly related to a service. These positions are available in the public sector, the military, the hospitality industry, wholesale and retail commerce, and tourism. The vast majority of currently employed individuals falls into one of these groups. These economic subfields account for more than a quarter of the total gross domestic product. Because Mecca and Medina are visited by such a large number of people each year, the hotel sectors in these two cities and their environs have traditionally achieved extraordinary levels of success. Number 6. Trade. The great bulk of the country's exports consist of petroleum and petroleum-derived products. The great majority of imports consist of various types of food and animals, machinery and transportation equipment, and chemicals and products derived from them. The United States, China, and Japan are its most important commercial partners, but the United Arab Emirates is quickly becoming one of the most important import providers. By the way, we're on a mission to inspire people like yourself to make generational wealth, so make sure to subscribe if that sounds like you. Number 5. Manufacturing. Since 1976, when the government founded the Saudi Basic Industries Corporation in an attempt to diversify the economy, manufacturing has advanced significantly. This action has resulted in significant economic expansion and contributed to the nation's economic development. This program has as its primary objective the increase of the production capacity of petroleum sector businesses. Since then, SABIC has produced a variety of goods. In addition to components made of metal and cement, extra commodities include plastic and aluminum manufactured items. Businesses that manufacture baked goods, printed papers, and furniture, to mention a few examples, are considered to be of a smaller scale. Number 4. Finance. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency, often known as SAMA, was founded in 1952 to fulfill its present duty as the kingdom's chief financial and monetary regulator. It is responsible for regulating commercial and development banks in addition to other sorts of financial organizations. In addition to these duties, the central bank manages the country's foreign reserves and assets. Banks charge fees for taking deposits and issuing loans. This is true despite the prevalent perception that banks and other financial organizations are not permitted to accrue interest. Despite having consistently promoted the growth of the private sector, government economic activity continues to dominate both the pace of business and the quantity of money in circulation. This is the circumstance notwithstanding the government's ongoing support for the expansion of the private sector. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is home to a wide array of commercial banks, most of which were founded by Saudi citizens or enterprises from other nations. Number 3. Gold. According to the Saudi press agency, Saudi Arabia has vast gold resources buried underground that are estimated to weigh a total of 323.7 tons. The most recent publicly available information indicates that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is home to roughly 6 gold and silver bullion manufacturers with a total investment value of approximately $1.86 billion. The first gold mine found in Saudi Arabia was the Ma'ad al-Dahab mine, which literally means the cradle of gold. The principal site of a historic gold mining operation, people in Arabia started digging holes in the earth around 3000 BCE in an attempt to locate gold. The beginning of the ensuing period of activity may be traced back to the time of Islamic Abbasid rule in this specific area, which lasted from 750 until 1258 AD. Gold is an important part of the culture in Saudi Arabia. It is customary for the prospective husbands of Saudi Arabian women to present their future brides with gold dowries as part of the wedding ritual. After a man has popped the question to a woman and received her and her family's approval, he will go out and purchase gold jewelry for the woman to receive on their wedding day. Even after marriage, Saudi women continue to like getting gold presents. This is particularly true for major life milestones like birthdays, pregnancy announcements, and wedding anniversaries. Number 2. Real estate. According to the Housing Ministry, real estate is the second greatest contributor to Saudi Arabia's GDP and is linked to the growth of more than 120 other economic sectors. In 2021, real estate earnings exceeded $103 billion. The quantity of work completed in the building and construction industries during the first half of the year increased by 14% compared to the same time period the year before. In addition, studies predict that the demand for subsidized home loan contracts will increase by around 500,000 over the next 5 years. Number 1. Oil. As stated before, Saudi Arabia makes 50% of its money from oil. The state-owned company Saudi Aramco produces both crude oil and natural gas. It has about 270 billion barrels in crude oil reserves, which are the second largest on the planet. It also has the highest daily oil output of all oil-producing companies. On May 11, 2022, Saudi Aramco's market valuation surpassed that of Apple, making it the most valuable company in the world. The beginnings of Saudi Aramco can be traced all the way back to the oil shortages of the First World War. That is when Saudi Aramco originally began operations. And if you found this video useful, then you'll love these. And be sure to like this video to let the YouTube algorithm know you'd like to see more videos like this one.